Now I had given you an assignment, create a variable for a small bull, where I have to create a variable customer, I have to create a variable quantity, I have to create a variable rate, and then I need to compute that amount, and then I need to print like this, hi customer, your total amount is. So this is just an example. So let us see how we can do that one. Okay, the first thing, I have to create a variable. Variable name should always be meaningful. Remember, variable name should always begin with alphabet. I can have the first part and the second part of the variable name connected using the underscore symbol. Now, the first name I am giving here as Asha as an example. Okay, first name, I am creating a variable first name, and the value that is getting assigned to that first name is Asha. And the next thing here is items. I am creating another variable. To that items variable, I am assigning the value 3. I'm assigning the value 3. And I am creating another variable by name unit price, where this unit price is assigned with the value 99.5. Okay, 99.5. Item, this 3 internally, Python will read it and understand, it is an integer because it is a whole number. This 99.5, it is a decimal number in mathematics. Python will read and understand that this is a float data type. Anything which I'm giving inside double quotes will be treated as a string data type. Now I want to know what is the total price. What is the total price? So the total variable I'm creating, after creating the total variables, I'm taking the items. The items is nothing but 3, and then I'm using the into symbol, and then I'm writing unit price, and then I'm writing unit price. Now what happens, this items at the runtime, it is having the value 3, and unit price at the runtime, it is having the value 99.5. So 99, 3 into 99.5 will be stored inside the variable total. Now when I'm trying to print it, I will be able to get that answer. I will be able to get that answer printed on my console, 298.5. But this 298.5, when it is getting printed on the console, does not give me an understanding. It does not give me a complete information what is happening here. I need to print a meaningful information on my console or on my output screen. Now what do? I will write a certain thing. I want to write my first name. My first name, I will try to write it. When I print my first name, it is coming as Asha. Okay. Next, what I'm trying to do, I am saying that, I want to say that Asha bought 3 items, and each item at 99.5, and total amount is this one. Remember, I want to print this line. I want to print Asha, three items at 99.5, 99.5 each, 99.5 each, and total is equal to 298.5. This is what I want to print on my console. Now, how do I do that? This Asha, I don't want to hard code that name. I have already have that value in the variable first name. So I will directly write first name. Instead of writing Asha, I will call the variable name first name here, and then I want to print on the console bot. So what I will try to do, I will use the comma symbol here, and then I will use double quotes, and inside double quotes I will use bot. So whatever inside double quotes, print function will directly print it. And after bot, and after every variable or every value, you need to place a comma, so that you're telling to the Python, treat this as an individual value, not one single value. And after that one, what is the next thing? I need to say that, bought items is how much here. At real time, items has to be printed, so items value is 3. So I will directly write items. So at the runtime, the value items will be replaced with a 3, and later and later I will place item at, I will try to write item at, I will try to write, and then I will try to write, the unit price. Okay, the unit price I'm trying to write, and then, I will try to write each. Okay, each. Okay, and then total I'm trying to write, and then I will try to write the value total here. Okay, now carefully listen. At the runtime, the first name will be replaced with the value Asha. And then whatever is you're seeing in the red color or in the brown color, these red colors value will directly come as it is. The values items at anything what you're seeing will be that these red colors will be printed as it is. And the other values like in black, the values will be changed at runtime. Okay, now when you run it, you can see that the first name it is replaced with Asha, and bot it is coming as it is, and items it is getting replaced with a 3, and item at it is getting it is written as it is, and unit price is 99.5, and each total is printing as it is, and the value total at the runtime it is getting calculated and it is printing 298.5. This is how you will be changing using the variables in real time and printing it on your console. So by this you should be able to understand how I can use the the variables in your program so that it gives you a meaningful information. This is the first exercise I have given and I have solved it for you. Okay, this is just for your understanding, and Python will treat this as a comment. So not necessary that you need to write as part of the code, but it is for your understanding. I have given it. The next exercise what I have given you was I told you here in this example, when I'm dividing 10 by 3, when I'm dividing 10 by 3, I'm getting the value as 3.33333. Say for example, I don't want the decimal value. I want only the whole value. In that case, is there anything that Python can offer? Yes, we have something called as a floor division. We have something called as floor division. This floor division will remove the decimal value, and it will give only the whole number. So instead of giving a forward slash b, I'm giving a double forward slash b, where it will remove the decimal value and it will give you the whole value. Could you see? Floor division, the decimal value is removed and only the 3 value it is given. So this double forward slash, we call it as floor division, where it will remove the decimal value in your dividend. Okay. The next thing is that I asked you if we can use the reminder. If at all I can use the percentage symbol, what will happen? So if I'm using this percentage symbol, reminder, and then followed by a percentage of b, and then I execute it. 10 divided by 3, it whatever is the remainder present, this is the quotient you are getting, and this is the remainder. So 10 divided by 3, you get the quotient as 3.333. You don't want that decimal value, you can give floor division. You want to know what is the remainder when you are doing this division, you can use this percentage symbol and it will give you the answer. The remainder was 1. So this is one more homework assignment where I asked you to try it out. The next assignment was, it's another simple example. Say I am creating a variable Karthik. I am creating a variable Karthik, and this is a string. Anything if I am placing in double quotes, this Python will treat that as a string type. Okay. The next thing is that price of one product. I know price of a product. I'm creating a variable price and I'm assigning the value 49.9. Remember, this 49.9 is a float value because any decimal number in Python will treat that as a float. And then the quantity is 3, where this is treated as an integer number. A whole number is treated as an integer. Now again, total is equal to price into quantity. Now 49.9 into 3, whatever is the answer, that will get stored into this total variable. Now if I print this total variable, you can see that it is 149.7, but 149.7 is not a meaningful information. I want to print a meaningful information. So what can I do? Python is offering another thing here. We call it as F string. We call it as what? F strings, where at the runtime, instead of writing first name bot like this, there is another way to do it. So what I will do here is, here I'm using inside the print function, I'm using something called as F. This is a F string, we call it in Python. So what does it do? After using F, you are giving double quotes. You are giving double quotes. Now, whatever you are writing inside this double quotes, it will print as it is. Remember, remember, without F, if you are giving, it will print only the value. Whatever is the value that you are giving inside double quote, it will print. But for example, if you want to print the price, you want to print the value of the price, you want to print the value of the name, you want to print the quantity value, at that time, this print function will not be helpful. So in order to print a variable value, you can do that by using F string. You can do that by using F string, F, and then double quotes, and then double quotes, and then you're writing hello. Whatever is in the red symbol, it will print as it is. And then I am using curly braces. Remember, I'm using curly braces. So I am telling Python interpreter, or I'm telling Python, at the runtime, whatever is the value inside a name, replace that value here. So instead of writing it as the name, as name itself, at runtime the name will be changed to Karthik. At runtime the name will be changed to Karthik. And then I am trying to say your total for quantity is how much? 3. So I am replacing that into a curly braces. At runtime the value which is seated in quantity will get printed, and snack is, and then I am writing, curly braces, and then total is I am trying to write. So when you're trying to do whatever is the red marks that you're saying, it will print as it is. Whatever is the curly braces value that you have given, those are nothing but the variables, where you're telling to the Python saying that at the runtime, replace the variable names here with the value. So for that, you're using F, double quotes, and then you are writing the variable names inside curly braces. Now when you're running it, it will say hello. The name at the runtime is translated into Karthik. Your total for quantity, that is 3, it is replaced with QTY, and snacks is total. The total value is getting 149.7. Okay, now I want it to be more precise. 149.7, I want it to be in a representing it in a 2 decimal value. This is right now it is in 1 decimal. 149.7 is 1 decimal, but I wanted in a 2 decimal number. I wanted have to have 2 decimal number. So for that, is there a way? It's there. You can keep a dot and say 2f. 2f meaning 2 floating points, or 2 numbers I wanted after the decimal. Now when you run it, it will have 2 decimal values after that particular total. If you don't give this one, it will print as it is. But you want a 2 decimal number, you want to be so accurate, then you're giving 0.2f. It will give you that decimal value. This is something that has to be noted, so that in future classes you will be using it extensively. Clear with this part? Can I go to the next level? Yes.
Yes, Karthik.
Thank you, Vaishnavi. Okay, guys. So the next in the today's class, whatever we have discussed so far is something about yesterday's assignment and yesterday's revision I have done. In today's class, we have an agenda. So in today's class, we will be discussing about variables. Deep study we will do about variables. So I want to give you a particular agenda and what are the learning objectives. So I want to write it down in this cell. If I want to write it down in this cell, you cannot write your notes here. You have to turn your cell into text. Only then you can write your notes. So here I have converted my cell into a note cell, text cell, and then trying to write it. So what is the learning objective in today's class? Learning objective here in today's class is I'm going to teach you after this class you will be able to understand what variables are in Python. You will be able to understand in much detail, and then you will be able to create and use variables to store data. Okay, the next learning objective here is you will follow Python naming convention, Python naming rules for variables. Okay, for variables. And the next learning objective is use basic data types. Use basic data types like string data type, integer data type, and float data type, and boolean data type, and a boolean data type. Using this one, you will see a lot of examples. And the next learning objective here is you will print and check the type of a variable. Print and check the type of a variable. So all these things we will be seeing in today's class. While you are doing this one, you will be you will make your fundamentals more stronger, because these fundamentals, because 70% in your data analysis job on our AI in any machine learning model, you will be using Python. So Python is the fundamental and the most important thing. So let's make the fundamentals stronger. Okay, now I'm trying to write the Python code here. So I'm writing one comment here, creating variables. Now let me create a variable. The variable name I'm giving here it as name itself. I want to store a value to it, so I can place the string data either in single quotes or in double quotes. In Python I am using double quotes, and as per our understanding, anything that you are giving inside double quotes, Python will treat that as a string data. And the next thing is that I'm trying to create an other variable, and I'm giving the value age to it, and I'm assigning the value 25. Now 25 in Python, Python will treat that as an integer, because it is a whole number. It is a whole number. And the height I'm trying to give here is height will always be in float, so 5.6. And Python, any decimal number will be treated as a float data. And this Alice is a student, so I'm creating another variable is a student, and then I'm assigning the value true, and I'm assigning the value true. So any true value in Python will be treated as a boolean data type. Now understand, I have created name, age, height, and is student, and I've given different data to it. Data is it. One is string data, another is integer data, another is float data, another is a boolean data. Now after this one, I am trying to print the printing variables. I'm trying to print those variables. So very simple. If I want to print the name, I will direct use print name. Okay. In order to execute this code, you can either use shift and enter, it will run, or you can hit this play button, it will run. The next time I want to print the age, and then close the bracket, it will print the age. And the next thing what I want to run is print height. So I am printing it, it will say 5.6. And the next thing what I want to print here is print is it a student. So I am printing is student, and then I'm closing it and I'm trying to run. So is student value is a boolean value there, it is true. Now I want to know how internally Python is storing all these variables. So whatever I told you here, string, integer, float, and boolean, let's cross check whether it is storing it in the right format as per our understanding. So I'm using a comment, checking types I'm writing, and then I'm writing print function, and then I have this type. Type is a function in Python which is helping us to know what sort of a data it is getting stored inside Python. So I'm asking Python, can you tell how is this the name variable stored inside Python? What sort of a type it is? So when I run it, it will say the type is string only. As per our understanding, it is correct. Next, I am trying to write the type of print type of age. Age, it will give it is an integer. Next, I want to know what is the type of height. Height is usually stored as a float value, so it is getting It is getting printed as float. And then I'm using the type to let us know what is the is student is always treated as a boolean because it is holding the value true, so it is giving it as boolean. Likewise, we are able to understand there's a string, integer, float, and boolean, how it is getting stored, how I can retrieve it, I can print it on the screen, and what is the data type. So this is one classical example. And then I want to give you some notes here. What is the notes that I want to give you? Quick things that I wanted to cover here is a variable is like a label for a value in a memory. Or I can say that a variable is a placeholder to hold a value in memory. Okay. The next part is you don't need to tell, to Python. Say, for example, you're trying to store water, or you're trying to store some solid. So before storing, you're just asking Python to give a container, and in the container, you're putting solid, or you're putting liquid, or you're putting some gaseous material. It all depends upon the end user. Okay. Python is not worried whether you're trying to store a solid state or a gaseous state or a liquid state. Anything, you are just asking a container, and Python is giving a container, and only when you store solid, Python will analyze that one and try to understand, okay, the user has stored solid, so it is a solid state. Only when the user stores the liquid in that particular container, it will analyze and say, okay, it is liquid. Only when the user is trying to store a gaseous state, then it will say it is a gaseous state. So we have three states in science, right? Solid state, gaseous state, and liquid state. Okay. Likewise, Python does not, worry about what you're trying to store. At the runtime, it will try to understand what data that you have stored. So you don't need to declare a type in Python. You don't need to declare a type in Python. It is decided automatically. So in other programming languages, say for example, you're taking Java, or you're trying to take, C sharp, all these languages, you need to explicitly say that, I am going to create a placeholder to store integer data. So instead of writing age directly, you should be writing int age in other programming languages. If you are storing height, which is a float value, you need to say float height in other programming languages. But Python does not worry about it. Any value you store it will try to understand what type you are trying to store it, and it will do the needful. So you don't need to declare the data type explicitly. That is what I'm trying to say. You don't need to declare a type in Python. It is decided automatically. The next thing is that variables name should be descriptive. That is what we saw in the last class too. Descriptive in the sense, if for a student name, you cannot give SN. Okay. For a student name, you have to give it like this: student underscore name, instead of SN. SN, you might understand thinking it is a student name, but later somebody else trying to view your code, if you are not giving a meaningful information, then it will lead to, lot of discrepancies. So in that case, you need to give the variable name as descriptive as possible. Okay. Now the next thing here, what you need to understand here is that, what are the naming rules for variables. Okay. The naming rules says that we already know must start with a letter, or you wanted to 100% start with a non-letter, you can use an underscore. Okay. You can use an underscore, but must and should, all variable names should start with a letter. And the next important thing here is can contain letters. Your variables can contain letters. Numbers also it can contain, and underscores also it is possible. But you cannot, your variable name should always start either with a letter or with an underscore. It cannot start with a number. That you need to remember. Okay. And the next important thing here is you cannot have a reserved or a Python keyword for a variable name. Cannot be a Python keyword. Say for example, you want to use, instead of the variable name here, you want to use print. You want to use print here. This is not recommended. You cannot use the variable name, or you cannot use the reserved word in Python as a variable name. The print as already has a meaningful function here in Python. So this reserved words, you cannot use that in your as your variable name. Okay, that you need to remember. Cannot be a Python keyword. So you cannot use a variable name like for as a variable name. You cannot use if as a variable name. You cannot use class as a variable name, because all these names have been reserved in Python and they have a separate purpose. You cannot define and override that purpose and give them as a variable name. Okay, that is the point that I want to discuss here. The next thing here is variable name. Okay, variable naming rules and keywords I will give you. Okay, quickly let us discuss that one too. Okay, the first thing is that, as I told you, start with a letter. Start with a letter or underscore. This is the rule number one. Start with a letter or a underscore. This is rule number one. Then letters. If you want to start with a, you want your variable name should always start with a letter or underscore. Then it can followed by letters, or it can also be followed by numbers, and then it can also follow by underscores. Okay. The next important thing here is no spaces. No spaces. You cannot use spaces between the variables. You should be use underscore instead. That also we saw in the previous case. Okay. And the third important rule is it is case sensitive. What is case sensitive? Say for example, you have created a variable total. That total is no way equal to total of this smaller case. Your uppercase T and your lowercase t does not match, and the Python will treat this as a separate total and this as a separate total. Even though in English both means the same, Python will treat it differently because Python is case sensitive, my friends. Okay. The next thing is that don't use a Python keyword. Don't use Python keywords like for and class and if. All these are reserved words. Now, these are in your fingertips. You need to know this one. It should be in your mind that while creating variable names, you should be cautious and you need to name it accordingly. Now, say for example, Karthik, you might ask me a question. Karthik, how do we know what are reserved words and those keywords we should not be using it? So I'll give you one simple thing. Okay, there is a way to know that what are reserved words in Python, and we should not be using those reserved words as part of our variable names, because it is already has a meaning and it is already having a purpose. We cannot discard that purpose, and we cannot give them a new function or new role. Already Python developers have used those keywords, blocked those keywords for a specific purpose. So if you want to know what are the keywords, reserved words in Python, you can type this something called as import. Import meaning, you are all these reserved words are seated in one library. That library name we call it as keyword. Okay. Imagine that all the reserved words are in a library, and that library name is called as keyword. I am trying to import that particular library, import that particular keyword, import keyword in that library. Library is a keyword. In that library, there is a book by name KW list, keyword list. If you are trying to pull in that library, going to that library, you are pulling that book. So if you want to mention that library and that book, you need to use this dot. Okay. Without this dot, it will not work. Imagine all the reserved words are in one Python library. Okay. Understand it for now. Keyword are a library. Now this keyword library has a book. That book name is called as KW list. So you are referring the calling the library. Inside the library, you are going to that book, and then when you are hitting enter, all these are keywords, reserved words in Python. Now I'll give you one simple trick. If you know all these reserved words, what it is, where is it used, how is it used. You have finished learning Python. Simple. Okay. I give you repeated. These are reserved words in Python which has a specific meaning, purpose and function. Okay. If you are trying to understand, if you want to learn complete Python, if you can able to understand, if you are able to understand what are these reserved words, where is it used, how is it used and why is it used, you have closely learned, you have closely mastered what is Python all about. Your language, fundamentals are strong. So these keywords cannot be used as part of the variable names. That's what I'm trying to say here. Okay. String building or concatenation versus F strings. I will explain this concept, very, very important. Okay, let me give you an example. Then I will explain you what is string building, what is concatenation and other things. Okay, give me a minute. Now I'm creating a variable name. I'm assigning a value Karthik. I'm assigning a value Karthik to it. Okay. Now, when I am this Karthik is a value which is getting stored inside the variable name. Now I want to print hello Karthik. I want to print hello Karthik. Usually we do something called as double quotes. Inside double quotes, whatever I am writing, it will print as it is. And then we were using comma in the previous classes. Now we were using comma and then we were giving name. Yes, we were using comma and then we are giving name. It will say hello Karthik only. This is one way of writing. There is another way also where I'm giving where I'm creating another variable Karthik, same thing, assigning it to a variable name. Print I'm using. Now instead of using comma, I have something called as plus symbol. I have something called as plus symbol. Instead of comma, you can use plus symbol also to concatenate, to join the variable values. Now the name I want to print here is name as it is. Now after this one also I want to concatenate one more thing. So what I will try to do here is double quotes and asterisk symbol. Now what I have done here is in order to print hello Karthik, I can use hello in double quotes and then comma and then name. This is also workable, but in there is also another way to write it. Instead of using comma, I am replacing the comma with the plus operator. That plus operator we call it as concatenation operator, where it is concatenating hello and name together, and along with the name this exclamatory mark also it is concatenating, and then it is giving this string building can be done using concatenation, and that is what I am trying to say here. Okay, so what is the definition? What are the things that I can give here? Concatenation can be done using hello plus and then the another plus and then the symbol exclamatory mark. Remember, plus symbol is not only used to add two numericals. Remember, in Python, plus symbol is also there to concatenate two strings. This is one string, and this is a variable name as it is, and it is concatenating the another string. So if you want to concatenate, see here, hello Karthik, without space, it is trying to concatenate without space. If you want to give space, you can give space here, then run it, it will give space. If you don't want to if you don't want to give space, directly it will concatenate hello and Karthik together and it will try to give. This is one way of writing, you're building your strings, you're trying to print the strings and trying to print it. If you want to have space, give some space here and then execute it. It will give you that hello space Karthik. If you don't want space, directly put hello and then name. This plus will concatenate immediately without any space and then it will try to print. But when you are giving it comma, it will give space and then try to fetch the value name and replace it with the value Karthik. Okay. Now the next important thing we understood concatenation. Let's understand what is F strings here. F strings again we have already seen, right? Here again I'm taking a variable name and assigning a value Karthik. Now what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to use print function and then I'm using something called as F string, meaning I'm trying to print the whatever inside the double quote as it is, and then followed by at runtime, I want to print the name from my program. I am not using comma here. I'm not using plus operator. I'm just using curly braces. So at the runtime, the curly braces will be replaced with the value and then it will print. But without f string you are giving, it will give you an error. You need to tell at runtime, replace that curly braces name into the actual value. So it will say hello Karthik. This is called as f strings type. Clear? Yes. Karthik, one question. Yeah. This if string, it will be used only during runtime, or you can use it in other time as well? Yeah, runtime meaning when you're executing it, any program, when you're executing it, it will replace that value. So without executing, this program will not make sense, no? So every time this will be helpful. Okay. 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 Thank you. So the next thing what I want to discuss here is so I want to clear that question once again. See, runtime meaning whenever you are trying to execute that code, that variable name, whatever I have given, it will see whether any variable has this particular name. So that variable value at runtime, it will replace it and print it. So every time when I'm running the program, it will try to place the actual value. Instead of using comma and plus, I can use f strings also. There are different ways that I can print the output using the variables. That is my intention to cover this one. Okay. Now, the next thing here is I'm using, the next topic what I want to cover here is multiple assignment and swapping. What is this multiple assignment and swapping? This is very interesting, guys. Pay attention. At any given point of time, every variable has only one value. Yes or no? Name has one value, Karthik, and here also, where in the previous classes CN also, name Alice, age 25, height 5.6, is student true. Python program will execute this code line after line by line. So first line, second line, third line, fourth line. So every time, I'm creating a variable and then assigning a value. Is there anywhere that, I can create three variables and assign three values at the same time? That is possible only in Python. No other languages has this facility. I am creating a variable A, I am creating a variable B, I am creating a variable C. And then I'm assigning the value 1 to the variable A, 2 to the variable B, and 3 to the variable C. This is only possible in Python, where you cannot have multiple assignment in any other programming languages. Only Python allows it. So at this point of time, I'm creating three variables and also I'm assigning value to it at one moment. Now, if I try to print A comma B comma C, it will print all the values, that is 1, 2, 3 at any given point of time. Clear? Did you understand this multiple assignment? At a given point, I can create three variables and I can assign three values to it. And no other programming languages does support this one. Even Java does not support this. Only Python does it. Clear? Yes? Yeah, correct. Okay.
Yes, Karthik.
Thank you. Now I am going to show you how you can replace these values, without using a third variable. That is also possible only in Python. No other programming languages supports this one. As of now, A has 1, B has value 2. Agreed? As of now, A variable is holding the value 1 and B variable is holding the value 2. I need to interchange it. I wanted A to hold the value 2 and B to hold the value 1. Very simple. I write A comma B and then equals to B comma A. What is happening? Whatever is the B value, it is getting assigned to A, and whatever is the A value, it is getting assigned to B, and A and B values are interchanged or swapped, and this is only possible in Python. No other languages supports this one. Clear? Initially A value was 1 here and now the A value is 2. Initially the B value was 2. Now the B value is 1. And that is how Python supports multiple assignments and swapping also. That is how Python supports multiple assignment and swapping. So let me give you a point here. You can assign many variables at once and swap values without a temporary variable. Okay, this is only supported in Python. No other languages are supported.